Hey kiddos, for today's activity, we're gonna make robot figurines. So let's grab our colored pencils and go. So more specifically, you're gonna need a large sheet of paper to protect your table and a smaller one to draw the robots. We're gonna need a pencil to draw with, also some markers to color them in, some colored pencils, and also some scissors. Great, so we're gonna grab our pencil and we're gonna draw two robots, one on the left and one on the right. So I'm gonna start with my left-hand robot here, and taking my pencil, I'm gonna start with the head. So it's going to be a straight line down, over, and around, so like a rectangle for the head. And then two little squares on either side here, which are going to be like the ears. Then a little neck using two lines, just like that in the middle of the rectangle. And then another rectangle connecting to the neck, which is going to be like the robot's chest. So it's going to go down like a triangle and then connect. So it's like a triangle with a flattened out point. Then we're going to do two lines jutting from the triangle with big square shoes. And another line coming out to make the second leg and square shoes, popping right out. Perfect. Now we need to make some little robot arms. So we're going to do kind of these spiky arms on either side. Almost looks like a fork. He doesn't need to use utensils to eat. Perfect. So now we're going to start on our second robot here. So once again, I'm going to do a little semicircle here for the head. And notice that I've left enough room on the left-hand side here for when I cut out my robot. Then I'm drawing another semicircle slightly smaller than the top one. Two lines here on either side, which are kind of like robot ears. A little pom-pom up top. Then two little lines for the neck. And then I'm going to make the chest. So straight out right there and across, down like a triangle with the point chopped off. Two lines down to make the legs. And then this time I'm going to have this robot have some like little bell shoes. Perfect. So now her arms kind of over and around, with also the same bells that we did for her shoes, over and around like the bells that we did for the shoes. Perfect. So even if our drawings aren't perfect, we're going to be able to fix it with our scissors. So let's grab our scissors and we can split the two in half, which is going to make it easier for us to cut them out. Great. So I'm going to take my first robot here. We're just going to trim right along the lines that we cut. So I'm going to start here on the inner part of the leg, if we want to call it a leg, little robot leg, and trim up right alongside the drawing. Remember to be careful with your fingers, because cutting can always be a little bit tricky. And then up. Cut nice and slowly because the legs are kind of thin. So if you cut too quickly, we don't want to chop off the leg. Same thing on the other side, up and around the foot. And up the leg. Perfect. Snip on the other side of the leg. And up. Great. Now we're going to cut around her dress. I don't even know if it's a girl robot. Kind of looks like a girl robot. And then up on the side. Then be careful with the arm. We don't want to cut the arms off. So nice and slow, snipping right around here. Perfect. I think I'm going to make my robots look kind of friendly and nice. Perfect. So we're just going to snip off here. Take the other side and start cutting around. Nice and easy. So I know it can get tricky with the limbs that are so skinny like that. If you just snip a little bit too far, then it'll just chop off. So take your time. Up and around and up the neck. Tiny little snip. Up and around the head. I'm going to trim that little piece off. Tiny little trim there. Look at the size of those robot ears. Almost looks like a helicopter propeller. And snip it right up and around her little robot hat. Sure not to chop off the pom-pom. Great. So most robots are kind of like silvery or gray, I guess is how we imagine them, but I think I want my robot to be a little bit more colorful. Because robots are here to help humans, you know, so we might as well be able to make them whatever color we want. Up and around, be careful with the neck. Trim it. Over the shoulders, down the arms. And here we can kind of fix the drawing that we did as well to keep those hands nice and bell-shaped. Great, let's just trim right up that arm into her armpit. Almost done here. Just so you know, you don't have to cut as fast as I do. We can always put it on pause. Take your time. Now I just have this little flap here. I'm going to cut off that little flap. Perfect. Almost done. Yay! Okay, so our first robot is nice and cut out. So we're going to color her in a little bit later. But now we need to cut in our other robot, who kind of looks like a boy robot, doesn't he? Perfect. So his shoes are a little bit more boxy and kind of easier to snip off. Snip in. It's much easier to cut off the geometric shapes when there's not too much round. It's just kind of straight. Perfect. Up and around. Look at those crazy little hands. Kind of looks like, I don't know if you know what a spork is, but it's a spoon with two little ridges. So it's like a half spoon, half fork. So this robot doesn't even need cutlery anymore to eat. He can just use his arms. Okay. Cut around him here. Up the neck. So it could be cool is once we have these all colored in and cut out, you can use them as figurines. So you can either, you can play with them like you would with like a Lego or a Barbie. You could use it as a bookmark. If you're reading a book, you want to just pop it into your book. You could even write a letter on the back of it if you want to, draw a special robot for your friend. You could write a happy birthday card on the back. You can do all sorts of things with your figurines. You could even collect them and have them kind of up against your windowsill. Tons of different things that we can do. Great, so let's just snip down. Perfect. Snip down and around. Cut out those little crazy spork hands. Perfect. snip up and over the arms, down the body, over, down the leg, and around our massive square shoe here. His feet have got to be really heavy. Look how big those shoes are. And then we're just going to cut out the last part here between his legs so he can move around. And snip. Perfect. Okay, so let's take our two robots and move away our scraps. And now we can start coloring them in. Great, so I'm just going to put them on the side where I have no pencil marks. And take my colored pencils here. And you know what, I'm going to use marker actually. So I'm going to take this dark red for my girl robot. And maybe a little green to go with. And blue for my boy robot. A little bit of purple. And also some black to do the detailing. Okay, good to go. Let's start with our girl here. We can call her Robota because she's a girl. Okay, so I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to make those three parts of her body the dark red. So we're going to start with her little bell feet. Back and forth. Perfect. Look at those feet. They're so crazy. Maybe one day we'll wear shoes like that. Perfect. So now we're going to do her dress. So just going to outline the place where we should stop coloring. So right there in the armpits. Right there where her legs are. And then right where her neck starts. So that way it's going to give myself a little border so I know where I need to stop coloring. I know people say it's hard to color, inside the lines, which it can be super hard. But as long as you kind of go slowly around the borders and then draw yourselves a little contour, makes things a lot easier, that's for sure. So see, I'm really using my spoiler paper underneath me to help capture, some of the marker underneath. Great. Look at her. She looks good in red. Perfect. I'm just going nice and slowly right where the line is ending off. Oops. And be careful. You can use your finger to hold her down. Perfect. Okay, so her dress is ready. Now we're going to make her hands, if we want to call them hands. Whoop. Yeah, not too fast where it's kind of a little skinny limb. And on the other side. Oops, nice and slowly. If you get some on your fingers, don't worry. We can always wash your hands after. Okay, great. So same goes for the face. I'm just going to start contouring the areas where I don't want to draw. So right there, and over the pom-pom. Perfect. So now we can start coloring all of the rest. Back and forth. And you see I'm using both of my fingers here to hold her down, just because if I don't, then she's going to go flying all over the paper. Great. Just back and forth. Nice and easy, right where the borders are. Perfect. Yeah. So you can make her clothes any color. Maybe you don't want to do just one single color. Maybe you want to have her wear, she's a flower robot. Maybe she's got stars on her. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to take my black marker and I'm going to make all of her features. So 2 circles for her eyes and 2 dots inside. Perfect. I'm going to make her little nose. So it's kind of like a rectangle. And then another rectangle for her mouth, where I'm going to just draw little squares inside for her robot teeth. Perfect. So now I'm going to take this green here, and I want her to, you know, she's not very funky right now, so I'm going to draw some little stripes here. So she's like a, you know, got a little funkier outfit on. Keep going down. Awesome. Right down her arms. Roboto is starting to look good. On her ears. And on her neck too. Kind of looks like a candy cane. Perfect. And then her little pom-pom, which I'm going to color in. Nice and slowly, just to get the edges. Perfect. So Roboto is done. I'm going to put her off on the side. And now I'm going to work on her brother, Roboto. So I'm going to start off with some blue. So I'm going to use baby blue here for his big old square feet. Holding him down. Ooh, lulu. That's what you get when you have massive feet like that. Those feet are so big you'd think that he'd have to have huge leg muscles to carry them around all day. They're enormous. So I'm holding them down really hard with my fingers. And then I'm trying to not draw too hard. Perfect. So then he's got his little hands here, which we need to make blue too. Look at that. His little spikes. It's got to be really hard to hold anything with those spikes. Can't be very comfortable to give him a hug, that's for sure. Perfect. So now we're going to just draw the lines again of where we want to stop drawing on his body. So down there, right where the armpit is, on the other armpit, and on the neck. And now we can start coloring in. His entire body here. For little Mr. Roboto. Perfect. Yeah, maybe he's like an underwater robot that does underwater missions because he's all blue, so he kind of blends in to the scenery. I feel like robots always have a different mission. This is the robot that works in the kitchen. This is the robot that makes the bed. This is the robot that goes underwater. Okay. Just getting all the little white spots here. Remember to hold him down. And I'm sure you're going to have marker all over your fingers, but don't worry about it. We'll be able to wash our hands right after the activity. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to draw in his head. So I think I also want him to be blue as well. So I'm just going to spin him around here, draw my line, cross off the ears here so I know where to stop, and start drawing his big rectangular head. Wouldn't that be crazy if we had rectangular heads? Okay, coloring all the way through here. Up and around, covering all the white spots. Okay, awesome. So I think we've done with all of our blue here. So now I'm going to take my light purple. I'm going to start doing a little bit of a decorative scheme here. So maybe little circles all down his arms. Kind of like little polka dots. He's a modern day robot where, you know, they don't have to be kind of this gray, boring, big metal hunky thing anymore. Robots can have a little bit of fun. Perfect. So you don't have to do circles. You can also do, you know, maybe you want to do like little spirals. Maybe you want to do, you know, lightning bolts. You can draw whatever you'd like to decorate your robot. If you're making your robot, maybe for your friend, maybe you want to choose what their favorite colors are, which I'm sure they'd like. Or for your mom. Little polka dots, I think they're cute. And then I'm going to color in the ears. Little purple ears. Okay, now we need a face. I'm going to draw this little mask here. Right alongside, I'm going to grab my black marker now. I'm going to draw 2 circles here for the eyes in the mask, a square nose, and a rectangle for the mouth. Perfect. Great job, you guys. The robots look awesome. So kiddos, here are our super cool robot figurines. I hope you had a great time making them today and that you're going to have a fun time playing with them as well. I'd love to see what your robots look like, so send them to me at tutokid.com with the help of your parents. Hope to see you soon.